Garrick, it's so nice to see you.
It's so nice to see you, Galena.
What are you up to these days? Because it has been a minute.
Yeah, nothing much. I mean, I've been bouncing around from show to show, writing on shit. Right now, I'm on Rick and Morty, which has been fun. Really nice, heady type of writing. I love that. Love being operating at the peak of intelligence at all times. But yeah, it's great. It's been fun. It's been nice. Stand up has been great. How have you been?
I've been amazing. We were just talking about this before we started recording, but I just miss the core group of friends from when we started, and it is
Yeah.
so exciting to see people thriving and out on the road a lot, which I haven't been myself right now, but that's kind
hmm
of just what you end up getting focused on. Are you touring in between writing?
Yeah. So me and Keith Johnson usually go out as you as we formerly knew him as Keith Soul. We would go out and do just dates. Like we went out to the Pacific Northwest for a little bit. Seattle, Washington. I said Seattle, Washington, as if it was another city. But Seattle, Portland, and Vancouver. And now we're going to Houston and Austin, uh, on a little hiatus from the writers' room. But yeah, I mean, honestly, it's weirdly easier to get shows out of LA than it is in LA, and then being an LA comic. But yeah, I've just been kind of going out.
How do you pick the markets that you go to?
I don't know. It's really random. It's just like, is it a city? Do they have a fun club? And
That's
then I
easy
just
enough.
go. Yeah. Yeah. I feel like the first place that I headlined was Tampa. And it wasn't even like Tampa, Florida proper. It was Tampa, like backwater Tampa. And those are some of the worst sets I've had. The room was great. The venue was fantastic, but I just sucked and wasn't expecting that amount of angry silence, I
Oh
should say.
no.
Yeah.
Do you have any
So
ties to Tampa, or did you end up there like what, you just threw a dart at a map?
no. It was just the first date that was booked. I have no ties to Tampa at all. I mean, Keith is from Florida, but he like bounced around between like Florida and DC because he was like a military kid. So uh a lot of his family's in Tampa, and so that's why he came out. But other than that, I have like absolutely no ties. I mean, I know Keith's family. I guess that counts, and they came out and they were part of the angry silence, so that was something.
That makes it worse.
I love meeting people for the first time, and then them watching me bomb on topics that are near and dear to my heart. Yeah, I love that. I love that.
I have a show coming up in Ohio where I'm from later this week because I'm going home to visit family, and my family always begs to go to these shows, and then it ends up being, they're seeing me a couple times within the same year when I'm working on the same material, and I'm like, I love you guys. I know you want to support me. Please stop coming to these shows.
Stop. Don't like there needs to be like some form of like disclaimer for any stand up or anybody that's working on stuff, that where I can just say, "Hey, I am in the workout phase of this," or like maybe I'm wearing a shirt or something, so that we can let people know that this is not the perfected thing yet.
Yeah, otherwise, then it leads to this awkward conversation after that I don't want to have either. And I'm like, I warned you guys. I didn't want you here.
Yeah, I didn't want you here at all. I know that you want to support me. This isn't the way. Support me. I don't know. Just honestly, if you would have just given me the money for the ticket and then not showed up, just as good.
I think you found a
Even better.
solution. Yeah.
Kind of, there it is. Just do that, please. For the love of God, please do that.
I love to ask my comedian friends, why are you funny?
Oh, my dad probably. Just kind of pass that down. Like really, really started off with like dark senses of he had a dark sense of humor, and so like I kind of just picked that up. And then like the rest of my family, like my aunt is really funny. Um, and yeah, I don't know. I think when you get exposed to that type of like mentality early on, you just pick it up and it just turns into your language rather than uh any like trying at it or anything like that. It's just like, oh, this is how people speak to each other. This is what is funny, or this is what it gets people to be interested in what you're saying. Um, and so yeah, that kind of just grew from there. And I was never like really like the class clown in school because like a lot of people say like, oh, I was a class clown and that's what made me turn into a stand up. There were always kids that were like funnier than me, but you know, every so often I would catch somebody with like, this is some shit you never heard of before type of joke or whatever. Um, and so that was always nice. And I don't know, I guess I just got like a kick out of that, of being like that quiet kid in the back of class that like says something snarky that people like kind of do like a double take and be like, wait, what did he just say? That was funny as hell, bro, or whatever. So that's yeah, that's always nice. I think that's why or where it kind of grew from.
I like that. My story is kind of similar where like it was how I got things to lighten up in my household, is that was how you broke the tension or just
Yeah,
got attention, was like saying
right.
something funny that was really, really valued in my house. And
Yeah,
then same, that's my favorite kind of humor, is someone who's not like trying 24/7 like the
right.
class clown personality, but it's someone
Yeah.
who they're quiet, they're unassuming, and then when they do say something, it's such a heavy hitter and you're like, "Whoa, okay."
Yeah, right. Yeah, exactly. That's so fun. Like, yeah, like back of the bus antics. And you're not, I mean, I was never cool enough to be all the way in the back of the bus, but I was like, I was halfway back there. I was like kind of in the middle. And so saying something that would make the entire back of the bus laugh, to the point where I like slowly inch closer and closer and further back. That was always that was always great, a good sign. It's like a nice little physical ranking system in the high school hierarchy, I guess.
I love that we all went through that too. It was always like, you're a fucking dork if you're at the front of the bus. You're a
Yeah,
nerd. You're
yeah,
doing
yeah,
homework already on your way
yeah,
home. And
yeah.
then the party is in the back.
The party's always in the back. Party's in the back, and like you could feel the vacuum of when the cool kids got off the bus.
That's so true.
You would like like as soon as the cool funny person got off the bus, and everybody just got like dead quiet and like started like actually working on homework or doing something else. um I remember seeing that and I was like, yeah, I want to be like that. I want to be like that. I want that my presence to be felt, my absence to be felt, not my presence to be felt, which is always nice.
I love
But
that. Were you like a big after school activities kid?
no, I ran track, and that was about the height of like my after school activity in high school. In I think in ninth grade I did drama, and all the way from like childhood up until ninth grade I did drama. Hit ninth grade and I was just like, okay, this is what they're doing is a lot, and I want to be asked to prom, or I want to ask somebody to prom and be okay, not have to take my cousin or something like that. And so I dropped drama, which I kind of regret, like I feel like I should have just like stood on it and be like, nah, I'm a thespian. I'm a theater kid.
There's too
Uh
much pressure in high school to be your authentic self. So even though now you know as an adult and with what you're doing now, it would have been so much more helpful to just continue in drama. Not that it's
uh, uh,
hindered you, but
yeah.
like you could have just continued on that path and been authentic to yourself. But the peer
Yeah.
pressure where you're like, No, I'm gonna need a date. I'm gonna need to lose my
Yeah,
virginity before I go to college, so I'm gonna
yeah.
have to
Before
drop these drama classes.
still didn't. That's the crazy. Still didn't. Yeah, I definitely. Yeah, it would have been so much more helpful. I feel like I would have been like been able to remember lines easier and just have like a better foundation. But yeah, something about it. I remember auditioning for our drama club and seeing that like their rite of passage was just like wearing the most ridiculous outfit that you could find and just running around the quad while everybody else is, in normal school clothes and whatnot. And that's like looking back on it, of course, that's a really good exercise to do. It kind of gets you out of your shell, makes you stop being embarrassed, gets the humiliation over with. And I saw that and I was like, yeah, nah, man. Nah, boss, I'm not gonna be able to pull this one off.
Well, your passion caught up to you eventually.
Yeah, 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 it did. It definitely did.
What'd you run in track?
I did the sprints, and so I did like the 100, the 200, the 4x1, and I did the 4x4 whenever they needed a fourth, but um, never did like really the 400. I should have, but I just didn't. Yeah,
I did it for a little while and I asked because I ran 400s, which it's kind of the same thing as you quitting drama, where like I've never been a runner my whole life. I wasn't good
yeah,
at it. I only signed up for it because I thought running was cool. And I
yeah,
always tried to like romanticize running because it seemed like the thing that the most elite type A successful person did. I'm like,
yeah,
oh, runners have their shit together. And then
yeah,
I did it and my lungs would just burn because I was not.
yeah. It's the worst. It's
It is.
like think like I remember always seeing the cross country kids run from I went to school in the Palisades. I went to Pali High and we were on Temecula or Temescal Canyon
Mhm.
Road. Um and the kids would run all the way from Temescal to the pier and then back to school, which is insane. That's like 2 miles all the way there and then back. So that's four that they would just run after school for fun. I was like, I don't want to. I That was kind of out of the question. Any long distance running was kind of out of the question.
And for people that aren't familiar with LA geography, I know that running back up to Mescal Canyon is
Yeah.
a very steep incline and a
Yes.
very difficult run.
Yes. Yes. It is
I can't
not.
imagine.
Not for the faint of heart at all. Um, and so I would just, I was for sprints, all the sprinters would just run down the hill and then kind of like do wind sprints back up, which is, great. But that incline, I got very, very intimate with that incline.
Switching gears a little bit, what's the last thing you complained about?
Oh, the last thing I complained about, I guess my knee, like my my fucking left knee has been killing me for I don't know, for at least like a year. Um and I got it like x-rayed to make sure that I didn't like have like a meniscus tear or something like that. Didn't, which is great, which is what a lot of people get who ran or who did athletics in high school. But yeah, it's just so insane that the human body has not evolved to the point where our knees don't start to go at like 30.
Early.
Like
Yeah,
why that's early.
it
That's
is.
early. That's a third of life, technically. Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's insane. And so I feel like I didn't complain about my knee. I complained about our lack of evolution and how we are or humanity is built wrong.
It's
Whatever.
valid. Yeah, we
Yeah.
were supposed to be dead by now, that's for sure. But also, like,
Yeah.
The most counterintuitive thing is that the more athletics that you do as a kid and the more physical you are, the faster the deterioration.
Yeah, which is that's against everything that we were grown to believe. You know, that's it's so weird and disrespectful. I feel like I was cheaped out um on I could have been at home playing games or something.
You could have been
But
in drama class.
I could have been in drama class, not ruining my knees.
Are
Insane.
you doing anything for it?
Yeah, I got to do physical therapy and get this like injection in it, but I don't know. I it's it's annoying that the answer for your knee hurting is more exercise. Thanks, world, I guess.
Do you have like a workout routine?
Yeah. Yeah. We have a gym downstairs, and so I just go and do like the upper body, lower body split every so often. But that's it. It's just stuff that I saw in like Men's Health or something.
Do you do anything to like keep it from getting boring?
Oh, no, no, it's always no, it's always boring. It's always boring, which is why it's so hard to get up and actually do it because you're like, oh, this fucking sucks. I gotta go downstairs and wait for somebody to get off the weight machine and awkwardly ask, "Are you using this?" And then they're like, "No, I'm not, man. Why are you staring at me?" And then everybody's recording and
Oh, no.
yeah, it's always bad.
That makes
Anyway,
me
sorry.
grateful for my neighbors that are a little older that are in my gym, and so they
Right.
don't record. I also live across the street from an Equinox, so I think the
Okay.
building intentionally put a really small, shitty gym in
Good.
it so that people would just go to the Equinox, but I don't.
Yeah.
I'm I'm too
Good.
like stubborn. I'll just use the gym here with me and the two other 80-year-old men that don't know how to record and hopefully would never start recording.
That's sensational. That's what you need to do. I think like yeah, as soon as you see that camera come out, you're like, okay, well, what's your Instagram handle? Is it tattooed on you? I mean, let me make sure that I'm not in the background, so people aren't just like, "Why? Look at that guy behind you. He's staring at you." And I'm just like, "No, I'm just staring at the fact that you're recording in a gym. That's so weird." But yeah, it's
I have such like cringe sensitivity, and I would never record myself
yeah,
working out if there was another person. First of all, I just probably the only thing I've ever filmed is myself trying to learn like jump rope tricks, which I feel like is
yeah,
different than just trying
yeah,
to record myself lifting weights. I
yeah.
can't believe people do that. I'm like, bring shame back.
Bring shame back. That's the complaint. People need to be more ashamed of themselves.
Yeah, I
We
agree.
I don't know where shame went. Maybe it's the fact that we get to like silo ourselves on the internet and be like, "Oh, I found my people," and this is so on and so forth. But man, I that's why we all need to have burner accounts or have accounts that don't show our faces so we can just be as mean as possible. You know?
Is that an admission to having a burner account?
No, I mean
Come on, Garrick.
I don't use it for that. I do have one, but I don't use it for that. I wish I did. I should. I should definitely just hop on and be like, "This is stupid. I hate you." But they're just going to like go on that account and be like, "Oh, this is a fucking troll with like zero followers. Why do I care about this person? This is a bot." No, it's like, no, it's not a bot. There's a real person behind here.
I also have a burner account, but mine is for like stalking exes and their new girls.
There you go. Yeah, yeah, makes sense. Yeah, see who blocked you. That's what it's for.
Yeah, I love it. I think everyone should have one.
Yeah,
Not
everybody.
for the mean comments aspect, although maybe that could. There's
Yeah,
probably a good line that's like useful as far as making some comments, but I feel like if I were to use mine to make mean comments, that would just karmically come back to me because as a woman in comedy, especially posting to
yeah,
places like YouTube, I
yeah.
can't even open my email without someone calling me a cunt.
Yeah, I'm so sorry for that. I'm so sorry that you have to deal with it. But like,
It is what
at
it
least
is.
you, yeah, at least you're not recording yourself in in the gym. You
Yeah.
know, you shouldn't. You're not. The worst part about it is that you're not doing anything that you're ashamed of, or should be ashamed of. Um, and other people are men mostly.
I
It's,
know.
it's
I can't
mainly.
believe they're I just can't believe anyone is comfortable recording themselves working out when there's people that like see the camera set up and then they get like they get mad at you or they get aggressive if you walk through their scene and it's like,
Yeah,
come on.
yeah. It's like, oh, don't you see I'm recording here? It's like, no, the phone is small relative to everything else in here. That phone is tiny. I didn't notice you were recording. I was just walking. Leave me alone. Um, yeah, they're very weird and rude about it.
But yeah, I hate that. Do you have any is there a conspiracy theory that you think is true or one that you like?
Oh, a conspiracy theory. I think people have convinced me that the moon landing was faked. Um, to where I mean, the only thing that I have to really go off of it is why would the government lie to us? And or why would the government go through the trouble? And I'm like, they go through the trouble a lot and often. And so,
I'm convinced, I don't know how much of like a proper conspiracy theory there is, but I think they purposely, they being the powers that be, don't teach us how to like pay our taxes or buy cars or take out loans because they
mhm.
want us to fuck up and have to owe more money.
Yeah, yeah. That's very fair. That's true. No, they want us all to be in debt. Oh, here's one that actually like I feel like makes total sense with the unhoused crisis. Um, they're saying that the government fully can solve this issue if they wanted to and house everybody. There's so much space, but they won't because they need to have a living reminder of what happens when you don't work. And so
Ooh.
you're walking around and you're just surrounded by what happens if you fail, quote unquote, fail society. And so I feel like that one is definitely true. That one's for sure true.
I've never even heard that, but I'm officially adding it to my list of ones that are probably true. That sounds
Oh,
entirely feasible.
yeah, it's awful and it's so direct. It's so gross. Um, and it's probably more on the side of like, yeah, I mean, we could fix this, or we could not. It'll turn a blind eye, and people will assign value to it. Um, so that yeah, I definitely believe that believe that one.
I believe that one now too, especially with all the money that we like send to other countries.
Oh my God, yeah, yeah,
And I'm
yeah.
from Ukraine and
Jesus,
I'm like, stop sending money to Ukraine. Enough.
yeah. It's like stop. They're. I don't know if they're good. They're definitely not good. But stop. We have problems also.
We do. I always end up down these like rabbit holes, and this is another one that just like hurt my feelings recently. This woman on TikTok was explaining that, and I bet this could be proven if I took the time to do the
Hmm.
research, but that baby formula companies actively lobby against maternity leave because when a woman goes back to work, she has to buy formula.
Oh my God.
That's
That's
like evil.
they're evil. I think that every lobbyist, I don't think that lobbying should be allowed.
Agreed.
Like that feels like it is against some weird core value in society where it's just like um it's humans over companies, and a lobbyist's job is to be a company represented as a human. And like that, like it feels like a weird like loophole, like that whole private sector of DC, where it's like you physically can't talk to like as a company you can't influence government at all, but like the private sector of DC fully like loopholes that and circumvents that, and it's really weird. Like they're the whole thing about like Southwest lobbying against the building of like a high speed rail
Oh.
because that gets rid of most of their business if there is a train that goes from LA to like San Francisco. And that's, it's for the betterment of California and definitely of the country if they were to build one from LA to New York. But airlines are just like, nah, no, no, not at all. We'll cease to exist if this gets built. Like, so I don't like figure it out. Build the train, dog.
Yeah,
Like what are you doing? Get ahead of it. Anyway,
they can't, but the whole, yeah, it does just feel so disingenuous and gross because it's like if your company is so good and you believe in your cause and what you're doing so much, why do you have to lobby?
yeah,
Shouldn't your
exactly.
product be strong enough to stand on its own?
Yeah, and it doesn't. It doesn't. And they know that and they're like, well, you have to our version of getting ahead of it is stopping anything else from being ahead of us, which is disgusting.
It is. Speaking of transportation, if you could get rid of either gas cars entirely or electric cars entirely, what would you do?
Oh my God. Oh, okay. This is hard because Doug, I really love the sound of like a when F1 was doing the V10s and the V12s, I mean the V8s and the V10s, that was a sensational sound. That was so great. It was beautiful. And now that they're down to like V6s and they're turbocharged and hybrid, I'm like, this is not as great. I don't like this noise as much. So I would say my weird long answer is that I would get rid of gas engine cars if that is from 2 generations ago. And so my dad never heard a car sound. His dad never heard a car sound. And so me never even fathoming what that sounds like. Great. Perfect. I don't mind that. I
Explains
just
it well.
can't know. Yeah, I
Yeah.
just can't know at all.
I'm kind of confused. I guess like I know how an internal combustion engine works,
Mm,
not to the point where I could like take it apart and put it back together.
yeah.
But I feel like such a Luddite with computers, and the fact that just an electric car is fully a computer makes me
Yeah.
nervous.
Yeah, that does make me nervous also. Like, but if this was created, 2 generations ago, maybe we'd have a better understanding of it. Maybe we'd be like, oh no, I know how to take apart a battery, or I know how to take apart an electric motor. Um, or I'm really good with wiring because that could be something that was like taught in schools. Who knows?
Did you watch the recent like the race in Monaco?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. They had to. It's like once I saw that Leclerc was on pole, and although he's on pole a lot and doesn't win, it's still that chance of him winning his home race is always there. And the fact that he did, and you're hearing him like scream, cry, um, in the over the radio. Yeah, it was beautiful. Crofty's like whole long speech while he was doing his last lap around was great. Uh, the his post interview, Leclerc's post interview was great, where he's just like, those last 2 laps, I was like crying and I couldn't see. It's like Jesus, man, that's gotta be that was his whole life. Like that's his whole life's dream just accomplished, and we got to watch that. It was fantastic.
I was sobbing at his speech and at them like jumping in the water. And it's
Yeah,
like, how many people in the sports world are that likable? The man is so insanely
yeah,
likable. You just want to be
yeah,
best friends with him and give him a hug and
yeah.
just watch him have the whole world handed to
Yeah,
him.
yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Like he seems like such a sweet kid. It's really, and then he's also one of the, I don't know how wealthy his family is. I mean, they're from Monaco, so probably wealthy enough, but like he's one of those who are on the lower end of the like financial spectrum of all the racers. Um, so like that's always cool to see, where it's just like, oh, this is somebody who quote unquote pulled themselves up by their bootstraps and got themselves into F1, which
Yeah,
is
it's really
great.
intriguing how people even get anywhere near becoming an F1 driver. It seems like it's such like a closed off
Hmm.
thing and that you do need to at least have some money to get into it and like how the hell
Right.
do you get sponsors and you also have to be like a certain body type too. Not as severe as like a jockey having to be small, but you have to be pretty petite. You're not going to be like 6'2" and big driving F1.
Right. Right. You got to be, if you're going to be, I mean, George Russell is pretty tall. And I think Esteban Ocon is pretty tall, but like
Guys
they're
that win are typically like real small.
they're real small, yeah. They're like and the ones that are tall, they're like super skinny, it's
Mhm.
because you can't have that much weight. And but yeah, they're not tall people at all. And that's always something.
Tell me about, because you just got a new car not that long ago. How's that been
Yeah.
going?
Oh my God. Yes. I love it. I love it so much. I got a 23 Civic Type R. Those have been going for like 20 over sticker, which has been insane. If you try to go to a dealer and buy it, they'll, you know, price gouge you out the ass. But luckily, I found one with like 2,000 miles on it.
That's not bad.
Um, yeah, at all. Like it was basically just somebody driving it up and down the street. And it was from a guy that I've met at the track before. And so he like usually does like imports of like, old Civic Type R's or old Acura Type R's. Um, and he had one and it was in white, which is like the Type R color. And yeah, it's just like immediately hit him up. I was just like, what's the price on it? And he put it at like 5 over, which is great. Rather than 20. Yeah, yeah, absolutely. It feels wrong to pay. What is it? It'll have been like 70 grand for a Civic. So, um,
It's not
yeah,
just a Civic.
yeah, I know it is not just a Civic, but I will say that like the infotainment of it, you're like, oh, this is a Civic. You get reminded every time your address doesn't come up in time or your, I mean, the actual like physical aspects of it are fantastic, but like that infotainment is like the one part that annoys me so fucking much.
Is it specced out how you wanted it?
Um, yeah, yeah. It came with like tinted windows. It wasn't lowered or anything like that. Um, and it, yeah, like everything else, because I was probably gonna change the rims anyway or anything and all that. But like the main thing was just coming with tinted windows. Yeah. And
Do you have plans to modify it besides the rims?
oh yeah. Yeah, yeah. I'll probably put coilovers on it. Um, get the rims like you're saying, and maybe put like an intercooler and an intercooler, a blow off valve, and a intercooler blow off valve intake and an exhaust. And then I think I'll be done. I think.
Yes.
I'm
That's
not sure.
that's really subtle, actually. That's not an insane amount of stuff to do to those cars because I've seen it all with those.
Oh my God, yeah. They yeah, they do a lot. I know that like, you know, Mugen has like a whole kit for it already. And I'm like, yeah, that looks crazy for something that you would track, but if I'm just dailying this, I don't know. I don't want to ruin it, quote unquote. Um, or make it so head turny that people are like, what the fuck is that? That's the reason why I didn't want the last one, because that one looks so crazy and so Gundam like. And to turn this new subtle one into something that looks like that's quote eye catchy. I yeah, it just feels weird and like a step back.
How'd you end up wanting this particular car?
It was a four-door four-door manual car. And like I always liked like hot hatches. And so I had a Focus RS for a little bit, and literally 2 weeks after getting it, someone hit me. So that
No.
hurt. That hurt so bad. Um yeah, it was such a dumb move. Like I was just driving straight, um, headed to a show, and somebody was merging on my left side because there was a ambulance coming, and so I'm stopping where I'm at, and then he just drove all the way into me, and those are all-wheel drive. So like if you hit the wheel, that's it. Any of the wheels, that's it. You have to change the whole um drivetrain, and so like him doing that ruined the car. Uh, and so I jumped from that to a the N55 M2, not the competition. And that was cool, but like it felt like too much for the road. And so traded that in for a what did I get? What did I get? Trade that in for an M340i, and that was also too much for the road. And so I
Like
went
these aren't
to
super
the
practical.
No, they're not. They're not at all. They're like the cars that me as a kid would want, and you're getting older and realizing the value of things where you're just like, oh, I'm paying this much a month just to not drive a car to its full capabilities. It's like that's pretty silly. But yeah, went from the M340 to the Civic, and immediately you're like, oh yeah, this isn't faster than every car on the road, and so I can actually have fun, going onto an on ramp or something like that.
You don't have like any I was gonna say like loyalty to Japanese cars then, because you just listed everything but
Yeah, I know. Like, yeah, I I don't I do like the 90s Hondas. They're very cool. Like all of those, all of the cars from Fast and Furious, of course, as anybody who's into cars will tell you. But like I yeah, no, I don't really have a loyalty to Japanese cars at all. It's just the better one, like what's the one that has the most feel in it, because my girlfriend got me for Valentine's Day, she got me the Porsche Experience
oh,
in
what a
Carson.
good girlfriend.
Yeah, well, it was a phenomenal gift, and I didn't know, like I was unfamiliar with Porsche's game. Um, and so like I go in thinking, okay, this is going to be a very digital experience. These new cars are, you pretty much aim and go, but it felt so analog, and it felt so like go-karty and all of that stuff. I in love immediately. I would trade most things for a Porsche
What
at this
model
point.
did you drive?
I drove the 911 Carrera S, and that
Oh,
was, yeah, it was sick. Sick.
that's so fun.
It's so
So
good.
if you could pick, like, what's your dream daily driver and what's your dream weekend car?
Oh, I mean, dream. Okay, dream daily driver. Honestly, is like a 90s um E30, or those really old Skylines where they had the rear view mirrors on the fenders. Um, I love those, and like for a daily, because that just seems so cool and like not practical, but definitely fun to just kind of like pull up to work with, and all that stuff. Or people are like, what kind of car is that? Or have like an old NSX or an old FDRX7 or something like that. Um, but for a weekend car, probably like uh the Porsche GT3, the new one that just came out, the 992, because
Okay, I'm
that
glad
one
you said
is
that. I was gonna be like,
yeah,
pick an expensive car, like
yeah. The
pick something
992.
brazen. This is your dream car I'm asking about.
Yeah, yeah. That that thing, because like a lot of people would do the GT3 RS, but I'm like, nah, you don't want to drive that around the street. Like I feel like that's that belongs at the track, and I feel like people who don't track those cars are doing themselves like a huge disservice. Um, and it is also like expensive to do it, expensive to track because if anything goes wrong with those, you're in the hole for like 100 grand or something like that. But
I think
yeah,
more, but I keep seeing that like GT3 RS specifically like is for cornering.
yeah. It is just for sending it into a corner as fast as possible. But I've I've yet to see one of those at the track. Would be very cool to see one. But it's weird because I've seen a McLaren Senna at the track before,
Ooh.
and yeah, that was really cool. But haven't seen a GT3 RS, so I feel
How often
like
are you going to the track?
I try to do like every 3 weeks.
Nice.
I try to, but like the last time I was there was probably like 3 weeks ago, I want to say. So I probably won't be back for a little while because it's summer and it's hot and don't want to overheat the car and so forth.
That's such a cool hobby though and it sounds like you are going quite a bit, so at least you're like
Yeah.
putting your money where
It's
your mouth is and following your passion.
yeah, it's the best. It's the best. I think everybody should try it with like their car just so that they know that when they put their foot all the way down, nothing happens. You know, like you're fine. You're okay. The car can handle it. Especially if you have a performance geared car. Um, yeah, you should definitely like know. And I think you should know what your car acts like, what it reacts like, and like if you get into a situation where you have to go heavy on the brakes, what weight transfer is and what that feels like and all that, and so that you don't steer when you're braking, um, or how to like recover from a slide or something like that. I do think that it's an important driver's skill and knowledge to have, just to take to the real world, but it's also fun as hell, you know. It's also
You make a
extremely
really
fun.
good point. It is important for like safety reasons. And even if that kind of emergency might never happen, you should be
Yeah.
familiar with what your car is doing. Although I hesitate to ever take my little four-cylinder SUV anywhere because
Yeah.
I totally
It,
bought it for practicality. It is not fun to drive. Like, I
mhm,
love the car. I don't want to speak disparagingly on it. It's
mhm,
great. I was raised by
yeah.
a mechanic. I'll die on the hill of only buying Japanese cars, but it is
Right.
not particularly fun to drive.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. I didn't know that you were only into Japanese cars. That's crazy.
I mean, I'm a fan of other cars, but I've only ever, my first car was an Infiniti i30.
Uh-huh.
And
Uh-huh.
then I had the TL for 9 years, which I loved so much. And then I just had a base Civic and now I'm on the HRV. So like
Nice. Yeah.
I just
HRV
won't,
is good.
if it ain't broke, don't fix it.
Yeah, and they won't break.
Yeah.
That's their main, selling point is that they it's fucking Hondas. The car I track is a S2000, and everybody swears by those things because they're just like, yeah, you can beat on it all the time. But it's if you find a good model and a good motor, you can beat on it for years, and it'll just keep up, be fine as long as you keep up with your maintenance. It's totally fine. And then it had the I know the AP1 had its motor, the F20 had the record for like the most power per cylinder or something like that, or per displacement. Something like that. It had it until like Ferrari beat it, the 488 or one of those. But yeah, it was it's an insane and an amazing car.
What kinds of drivers do you judge based on their car purchase? Like any car you see and you're like, ugh.
Sorry, the 458 beat that record, not the 488. Sorry about that. I was just thinking about it. Sorry. Okay.
Okay, okay.
So yeah, what is that? Who do I judge? I I definitely judge. I definitely judge. I'm not gonna say like, oh no, I don't judge people's car choices. No, I definitely do. I see all of you. I'm just trying to think of it. Maybe people in the like the Lambo truck,
Yeah.
the
Or let
Lambo.
me like rephrase it this way and take the humanity so we're not like talking shit on specific people. I'll
Yeah.
ask it this way. If there was a car that you never had to see again, what car would
Oh,
it be?
everybody wants me to say the Cybertruck, but man, I love them. I like how they look.
I wanted
I
you to
like,
say Cybertruck.
yeah, I know you did. I love how they look. I think that that thing looks so cool in matte black, and it is actively going after exactly what it wanted to look like. You know, it went from concept to the road, and I'm like, fuck yes. Um, but I don't know. Let me think about like car. If I could never see that type of car again, what would it be? Probably like, I don't know, a base Civic with a bunch of like fake vents on it. And like a spoiler that doesn't do anything. Um, it's just like people with like fake vents, fake anything with a fake vent. I
That's
think
a good answer. Yeah.
I'm kind of good on. Yeah. Yeah.
I gotta rethink my viewpoint on the Cybertruck, but here's what it does to me. It gives me like the automotive version of Uncanny Valley, where I'm like,
Mhm.
that's not a real car.
That's not a real car. Yes, it is. And I will admit it is poorly built. It is poorly, manufactured. It probably is not probably, it is definitely way too big. It is impractical, but it looks good.
Have you seen the videos of people showing how it'll like chop a carrot in half, that if you like
Yeah.
put your finger in a certain area, there's no sensor to stop it from closing on your fingers?
Yes, yes. And I think that those people deserve to have their fingers taken from them. Yeah. Yeah. Just fuck off. Your finger should not be allowed to be on your hand anymore because you didn't appreciate it and you did something stupid. But like I that yeah, everybody I feel like the owners of Cybertrucks are awful, like weirdos and all that stuff and whatnot. I don't think I would ever own one. But I do appreciate the swing every time. That
It,
it's
there's always going to be people that are always going to buy whatever the equivalent of the Cybertruck is just so they can show off that they have it.
yeah, yeah, absolutely. A lot of people have them because they ordered them before Elon went on his whole like I'm gonna buy Twitter and I'm gonna be weird type of uh I don't know type of road, I guess, whatever road he went down. I'm confused by that dude constantly. But yeah, a lot of people ordered those because they're like, oh well, it'll be like a nice post-apocalyptic truck, even though it's electric.
Mhm.
Um, so yeah, I don't know. Those people are definitely strange and definitely should like look into a different type of car, man. Like, don't like this isn't it's not the flex that you think it is, you know?
Thank
I
you.
feel
Thank you for saying that. It's really not.
it's really not. Everybody who bought it was just like, oh no, look at me trying to be the physical representation of being anti-woke or whatever. Everybody's so they think that it meant something that it wasn't. And it's like, no, man, it's just a car. Just relax. Stop doing that. Stop assigning this weird, crazy narrative to it.
That's so true. And not a single person that bought a Cybertruck has ever even come close to using the truck bed for whatever you would use a normal truck bed for.
No. It's like it's partially because they're not handsy. And then
No,
the
it's
other
there's
part,
no one blue collar buying a Cybertruck.
no, absolutely not. It's impractical. The bed is so short. It can't even hold a 4x4, 2x4. Um, just saw that the Ford Lightning, of course, the F-150 Lightning is the one that everybody's getting because it's it's electric and then it's just a F-150. You wouldn't even be able to know that it's electric if you weren't looking at it. Uh, so yeah, if anybody wanted a truck, get that or I love the Rivian. The Rivian looks so good.
I don't know where I'm at on the Rivian. I haven't decided. I think that the truck looks better than the SUV, but I'm still like a little I'm just slow to adapting the look of most electric cars right now. I still think that they're
Yeah.
trying too hard to look futuristic.
Okay.
And as a person that likes traditional design cars and even more classic design cars, I'm
Right.
not into these really broad bands like the lights that go across the whole entire car. Like they're
Got it.
so bright, they're a weird color. I don't know. I'm not there yet.
Okay. No, I get that. I like how futuristic they look. I mean, I'm a huge sci-fi fan, so like anytime I see a light bar or something like that, that doesn't look like it has bulbs in it. Like,
Mhm.
oh wow, look at this spaceship that's behind me. Especially if you see a Rivian at night and all you're seeing is the light bar and the two circles. I think that shit is so dope. And then they had the I also yeah, I agree that the truck looks much better than the SUV, but they have a smaller version coming out later. Like I think it's like 2027 or something like that. I'm not good with dates, but it's a long time. Um, but those look cool. The R3X, I think it's called. I like those a
I'd have to
lot.
look that up. I thought that I was really into the Fisker Ocean back when I was just seeing
Hmm.
advertisements of it. I thought,
Hmm.
oh, that looks so good based on the renderings. I'm gonna want
Yeah.
that SUV when it comes out. And I've
Yeah.
seen a handful of them on the road now, and I just don't really like how they look in person. And I just heard yesterday that apparently Fisker is going under.
Yeah. Fisker, I don't think they've had like a lot of success for real because even when that car came out, everybody's like, this is cool for rich people, but also this isn't a good car. It doesn't
It's a shame
it's
because it looked cool. It looked like an electric Maserati a little bit.
yeah. And it never hit like it should have. And them trying to be like, okay, so we can make a more practical version. It's still gonna be expensive, but it's gonna look like your mom's SUV. And then that also not working. I feel like it's so hard to break into the automotive industry as like a new car maker. And so for them to try like a val valiant effort and all of that, but yeah, it's definitely crowded, especially with like everybody noticing how much you can make off of EVs and all of like the traditional automakers just making those. It's like, okay, yeah, I'll just go with an Audi electric car because they know how to make wheels. Like they've known how to make a car for a long time. I'm not gonna expect for my door to fall off or something weird. And then you have like the backing of like uh you know Audi's company or their pedigree to fix the car if something happens, rather than you have a Tesla. They just started making cars relatively recently, and if it breaks down, they're just like, I mean, I could put some duct tape on there, man. I don't know.
I
So
have a neighbor that, and this is the most Soviet shit I have ever seen. I knew he was one of my people before I even like saw the man or heard him speak, because I noticed that there were a bunch of Teslas being like worked on out in the street with a cord going from like the car up into this dude's third floor apartment. And I'm
hilarious.
like, if that is not the most Eastern Bloc activity, where he
Yeah.
is just like MacGyvering repairs on these cars where he's supposed to use steel on the fenders and the hood. I think he's doing like fucking paper mache or something.
Uh-huh.
I'm like,
Yeah.
this is who's fixing Teslas.
Yeah. Yeah, that's so wild. That's so wild because there's no mechanics for a Tesla. I guess it's just
Not
somebody
yet.
who's somebody from the Soviet Union just coming in. I mean, like, and I can figure it out, man. Let's see what we can do.
Yeah.
Uh,
It's a
yeah,
growing phase. Like there's some, I think the same thing that happened like early 20th century when these companies started coming out and obviously a bunch of them prevailed and stuck around. It's going to be the same thing with EVs where like, yeah, you're going to have the companies that are already established
yeah,
succeeding in that segment of the market. And then like, I don't know, Polaris seems to be doing well. And obviously Tesla has a huge portion of the market share, but there's going to be ones that inevitably flock. I'm sure Fisker isn't the first or the
right,
last to flop. I'm not there yet myself. Like I want infrastructure to be a little more prevalent before I commit to getting one. Like I'd rather just get a hybrid in the meantime, but you can't fight the future. It's coming.
right, right.
Well, Garrick Bernard, you've been so generous with your time. This was so
Oh,
nice. Can you
yeah,
tell people what you have coming up?
yeah. Um, myself myself, sorry. Yes, I can. Keith Johnson and I are headlining the Riot Comedy Club in Houston on June 19th, and then Cap City Comedy Club on June 21st and June 22nd. So that is, we're doing like half hours each. Should be a really good time. Where it's gonna be fun.
Amazing. Where can people find tickets and what are your socials?
Um, I'm at Garrick Bernard on Instagram and Twitter, and you can find tickets on capcitycomedyclub.com and riotcomedyclub.com.
Amazing. Thank you so much. Great to see you. Thank you
Yeah,
for listening, everybody.